versus Cloud9. They'll be on the blue side as they'll ban away Aatrox once more. Cloud9 again with the Scion, so maybe looking at a pretty similar start to this draft at least, Spawn.
Yeah, and I wonder what the side selection is, whether it's the fact that Kaisa right now does seem to be incredibly strong. I thought that the counter pick for Kira was important. I think that whilst that laning phase went poorly, could have certainly gone worse if he was in the counter matchup. So it's pretty, I think, interesting that, you know, not all that much changes. They do give them the choice now, Urgot or Kaisa, to ban away, given the fact that they've taken away the Urgot counter pick for Licorice, which of course is the Aftershock Lissandra. So certainly showing that they do have some ideas here, or they could just trade it.
Yeah, Cloud9 thinking, you know what, we'll happily trade. We'll just keep the bans the same, keep Diamond off of the champions he's played. In fact, he has to play another new champion because they banned Nocturne away from Blaber on their own side. But we'll see what Gambit do want here. If they take Urgot, Cloud9 are 101% taking Kaisa, but Urgot's still a very good first pick.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think that right now you can just take Kaisa and Kindred potentially, have a good jungle matchup because Kindred does seem to be quite powerful on the current patch. We've seen Blaber play it against the Urgot already, and over the course of the game, learn how the interaction works, so he should be able to navigate that one a little bit more successfully. And it gives Cloud9, once again, a response of a powerful pick.
Alistar.
Ah, interesting.
I wonder if they won't take Kaisa here, though. We'll have to see what Cloud9 do want for themselves. Looks like right now Reaper talking to Sneaky, so maybe just discussing, you know, if we give them Kaisa, what do you want to play? Already played Draven one time around, and Cloud9 starting to really change the playbook. Mark said don't show new stuff, but they picked Akali for the first time ever this tournament.
And I wonder if Licorice plays at top lane, whether this is something that he thinks is a very good matchup. There you go.
Solo queue scouting, I know. He's been rampaging through Korean solo queue, is one of the few players from the West that's challenger over there, and I know he has been playing Akali from time to time, so perhaps you're right. Maybe thinking that that's where he wants to go with the 1v1 matchup. Gambit, though, are going to take Varus, and looks like TK may be lined up.
What I was going to say is now you can still take Kaisa if you want to. Then you can hide your last pick for the other end of the flex, whether it's Akali top or Akali mid, and guarantee a good matchup. First picking jungle out of this rotation wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. Neither junglers have been picked up so far, PastryTime, so I think we're going to go fairly far down the lane in this regard.
Have to think so as well, and just with a quick check, I believe this is the first Akali all year, actually, for Cloud9, so I've not played a lot of it at all in the matches they have played, but there is the Kaisa we expected from Cloud9, and we'll see what happens here in Phase 2.
In saying that, it is difficult at the best of times to get your hands on Akali. Around the world, she is one of the most heavily banned champions. There seems to be some good matchups that you go towards. Ryze, LeBlanc, Zillion, as well as Galio have all been shown. Top lane, especially if it's going to be an Urgot matchup, I think that there are certainly ways that Urgot can win that one. If you're able to chunk her out, you can pull her out of the Shroud.
Looks like
interesting adaptation.
Yeah, we'll have to see, but of course we'll look at Phase 2 bans now. All left to ban for Cloud9, continuing to hammer at Diamond's champion pool. Whatever he ends up playing, it is going to be many picks down on his list.
And that's interesting, right? Because you think that when you have a look at Blaber's champion pool, he wants to be on something aggressive. And Diamond's played the game for such a long time, so you would think that maybe in a tank versus tank or a team fight matchup, he could gain an upper hand. That game one performance was very impressive from Diamond for the first half of the game. So I think that this is a strategy that I wouldn't necessarily think would be employed by Cloud9.
Skarner, again, Cloud9 is picking on the jungle, and Gambit on the other side, banning away tank tops, because you know what? That, like you said, it could still be a flex pick of the Akali if Jensen wants to take the Assassin for one of the rare times he has all year long.
Well, the thing is as soon as you lock in, you know, not Braum as a support pick, Ornn Kaisa just becomes obnoxious to deal with if you have low mobility backline. And Kira doesn't necessarily play the highest mobility mages in the game, you know, more known for these things like Orianna and Anivia. So being able to lock that in would certainly shut down the Varus.
Yeah, we did see Hecarim ban. That's kind of a dual ban for top and jungle, but Blaber had to be thinking, hey, I made it through 10 bans, the Kindred's still up, so I guess I'll take that here, as that's the first pick for C9 in Phase 2. So we'll see how they tie the room together, but Gambit, of course, must finish their draft now.
Man, I'm trying to think, you know, what comes next down the list. Is it something like a Zeyzal to try and dictate some early game pressure for Diamondprox? Does he go towards an old school pick like Lee Sin? That's an old school pick.
Yeah.
Zera. It is one of his most played of all time in Anivia, and really did make his mark on Albus Nox Luna with that pickup.
So
and blind picking it, especially given the fact that we think that it could be a top lane Akali, is a bold call.
I mean, they don't know either. So as far as they're concerned, it's also blind, even if Jensen does end up playing the Akali. Throwbacks continue. Jarvan hovered there briefly by Diamond, but we'll see if he settles onto Zac here. Can be tough to take a tank versus Kindred, and is going to take Poppy jungle.
Huh. I like that. Can stop the engage coming out. They have a very control-centric composition. Front to back, they will be able to shred through if there is no tank in here. They do have to worry about, you know, potentially some good flanks coming through from whoever the Akali player is, not to mention the fact that there could be not a bad 1-3-1, but I guess Tahm Kench really does attack that. So I think the Poppy pick here actually makes a lot of sense, PastryTime. If they can't force with Zeyzal, if they can't get sneaky into the backline, no one really going to be able to deal with Varus and Anivia from this composition.
Yep, Poppy does a great job blocking a lot of the jumps and dashes on the Cloud9 side. Last pick, though, is Viktor. You can see Reaper giving his top lane a big thumbs up, says, Licorice, you've earned it. Here's a carry. We'll see and get us through here to game number 3 with yet another win. But Gambit, I feel like actually drafting a very strong comp for them, not just based on what is kind of present in the metagame right now, but the way their style works and their comfort works. I actually really like what they ended up with, which is impressive given how many bans Diamond ate in this draft.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that given the fact that, you know, you got a short-range 80 carry or marksman coming through for Sneaky, it's going to be difficult to attack turrets. So Kira going to have a field day here. They also have the Poppy and Anivia composition, which once again, I think it was Albus Nox Luna ran in their play-in stage, that time in the top lane. So some innovation coming through for the first time. This is what we finally wanted to see out of the Gambit lineup. Give us something fresh, try and shake up Cloud9, try and change their play patterns. And I think they've managed to do that.
I think so as well. So we'll see what happens here in game number 2. It was dominance in the top half for Cloud9 in so much of game 1. Looking for a potentially similar trend here as well, with 2 counter picks on their side, plus Blaber back on Kindred for a second game in a row. So coaches and sports staff will settle into their positions and watch the teams move out at level 1.
Because the big thing is, normally when you play Poppy, you can't gank mid lane. It's actually one of the hardest lanes to gank, you know, not many walls. They have to seriously misplay for you to be able to get it. With Anivia, you can gank anyone, anywhere as Poppy, as long as Anivia forces them in the right direction. So Jensen is going to have to be clued in, because seeing Poppy, you would assume low pressure. But there is a lot of chain CC, there is a lot of damage. Pre-6 that comes out of both of those champions. And Kira is a master at the bird.
Gotta be careful. Sometimes the Poppy just rubs her boots. All of a sudden, she's top speed running into your lane, and you're dead. We did see this, I believe, already from Gambit in MSI, running the Poppy Anivia. Like you said, when you have a player with so much individual mastery on the champion, these are the things you can't afford to do. And if Cloud9 weren't thinking about it or aren't prepared, they will be swiftly punished. In fact, Jensen has heal over cleanse. We'll have to see if he gets punished for that at all.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Whilst Kira has the luxury of being able to pick up the spell book, you know, not going towards something like a Comet for the laning dominance, wants the freedom to be able to swap out some of the spells as the game progresses.
And on runes, also Licorice, we did see the top Akali, but a little different from maybe what we've seen in mid lane. He used to be a bit heftier in these matchups versus Urgot, so his primary resolve with Grasp of the Undying actually is the keystone.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me, because when you play against Urgot, you're pretty much playing against a melee champion that wants to dash in, use the shotgun knees, so we'll have a chance to stack it up. Not to mention the fact, did he just get the ward? Yeah, he's going to get the ward. I hate this champion. What I was going to say, so you are going to be able to get the proc, not to mention the fact that you also stay in combat a lot just because of your access to creep wave with Shroud as well as the Q. So we'll have it up and available as often as he wants.
See the lane here start. Jensen hasn't played Viktor in a while. Actually, looks like his first play on the year for the champion, but is well versed in it.
Has been buffed up a little bit. You know, the cause costing 100 gold less is just such an important change for Viktor. We were talking about, you know, futures market and things like that helping him out a little bit, but I think this is what needed to push him back in. He also had some pretty lame keystone choices, to be honest, but with Electrocute being nerfed down, you do have a much better trade window when you take something like an Aerie. So I do think that he is in overall a much healthier position than what we've seen.
Yeah, we see Blaber there onto the blue, but unfortunately for him, his first bounty is on the left side, and that's the ward that Stejos already cleared at level 1 with the Urgot as Kira with a nice trade. Does get some damage down onto Jensen, but Jensen trading back there as well.
But this time around, as long as he survives the early part of the laning phase, it's going to be Kira that can potentially teleport back in with that spellbook. As we mentioned as well, probably should have a little bit more pressure with a Poppy in the lane, so getting pushed in at this stage, not necessarily the worst thing.
There's Blaber on this first scuttle. It's not the one that's with the extra value, but he'll take it regardless, as he was on this side. Actually already see an early back from Diamond, has boots 1 to make sure he can use the keystone that he brought to battle, which is of course Predator. And we might actually have a race for this scuttle. Jensen pushing us in does give Blaber somewhat of a window, but Diamond is running there, and top is pushed on the side of Gambit.
And I think Diamond does need to control this top side of the map. You know, you've got an Akali, you got yourself a Viktor into an Anivia matchup. If this doesn't go well, you're in some trouble. Not to mention the fact that Varus just outranges Kaisa, but until level 6 has very little kill threat. So I think that it's going to be crucial for the bottom lane to just be able to secure the push. Good vision control going to be crucial for Diamond to keep his top laner safe, his mid laner safe. And if they do farm up in a similar fashion, they have very clear windows where they're going to be able to win the game. These two comps do different things. Not necessarily going to be a 5v5 team fighting comp coming out of C9. It's a little bit of a shocking wall there. So we'll see whether they're able to weather it.
Jensen, a bit hungry. Maybe looking to make some omelets, but Kira stays with passive up for now. Blaber also based, has his red spike now picked up.
But once again, Kira is just down like a creep wave and getting forced out of lane versus Viktor, who PastryTime isn't necessarily known for his lane-dominant play patterns. He's also pushing back towards Jensen. So Jensen feels now that he can go for a recall.
Kira stays out of vision and is now going to move in to pick it up, but Blaber maybe sees a passive he can pick up.
Disaster.
Oh, Diamond here as well. Blaber's like, oh no.
That's a good
free passive.
Diamond. This is what needed to happen in the first time around. When Kira got stuck underneath that turret, Diamond needed to be able to come in and impact that wave. Didn't do so on the Nocturne, actually ran back through the jungle. Kira lost 2 creep waves for it and so much experience, whereas this time around, Diamond does the right thing for his mid laner. Kira still got himself in that situation, but it's nice of Diamond to, you know, kind of save him.
You can see Licorice is struggling, at least early on in this matchup. Stejos up about 10 CS using that strong early power that Urgot does have.
This is kind of what happens with a lot of Akali lanes. You try and live, you try and heal up as much as possible. As soon as you have access to level 6, even without Ignite, you have kill threat on nearly everyone. We'll be interested to see how she goes against an Ignite Urgot top lane, who probably is going to come back with a Kindle gem on the first shop, so should be quite tanky as opposed to a lot of the top laners that Akali's able to find. Not to mention in the 2v2, Akali does do a very good job of killing the jungle a lot of the time. Whereas Diamond is going to be very tanky in this game. There's going to be a Cinderhulk Poppy coming out, so not necessarily going to be the same impactfulness.
Ooh, nice ward actually from Gambit. Spots Blaber flipping through the lane.
Kira came back to the lane with no pop PastryTime.
That seems bad.
Yeah, given the trajectory of this laning phase so far, I'm going to have to agree with you.
Blaber here also back on, I believe, the bounty as the crab does spawn, but Diamond is going to try and snipe it here. Maybe he doesn't even move out. Blaber just smites it and walks away. Now Diamond wants to try and get a kill, but Blaber over the pit flips back and he's fine.
And there's nothing Diamond can do. His mid lane is getting pushed in so far that he needs Stejos to be able to rotate across. And Kira.
Last charge. Jensen going to get some damage down onto the egg as well. Probably not enough to get a kill, but picks up the passive for nothing.
Once again, the lane is just in a shocking spot. And this is becoming a real problem for Gambit fans. You cannot fall down this far. We'll have a teleport to get back into lane. Oh.
But again, Jensen just trimming the wave, keeping it back. I mean, this is what he was known for so long. Building up big CS leads just by controlling the wave and outlaning you. Has not done that for quite a while all year long, but is really giving Kira the hands in these first 2 games as Lodik does TP back down the bot side and chunking sneaky away. Does have his heal, holds on to his cooldowns, but he's probably going to be forced out of this lane. Licorice again. That's perfect execution 1 into Shroud. Stejos knows what's up now. Does get the flippy around, needs to try and flash out of the way, but Blaber here. Ulti is going to miss. Licorice maybe looking to go back through, but Stejos flashes out to safety.
Does get the flash, but survives a 2v1, which is very good, because right now, if you are the Gambit lineup, you must be able to win bot and top very hard. Mid lane is going disastrously. Kira now with the ultimate, if he gets a blue buff, will be able to secure some more farms. Stejos sticks around.
Good vision here from Gambit, though. Does mean that Stejos will be safe, and Licorice not that healthy. Although Ultimate being down means he's probably not in too much trouble and still going to try it. Back into the Shroud. Stejos uses his dash away. Blaber going to dive him. Looking for the first blood one more time, and he's going to grab it.
Yeah, and that's just greedy from Stejos. Wanted to still challenge the minion wave. Didn't think they could get on top of him. However, Blaber's willingness to burn summoner spells and generate advantages once again comes up crucial for Cloud9.
And this time we'll see if Licorice can have a different looking game. Still had a good poppy game in game one, mind you, but now on a champion that can really snowball things over and is getting the attention this time for Blaber. As we'll take a look at our Acer Predator replay.
Yeah, and Stejos just thinks that he's going for the mark. That Licorice does the right thing, calls his jungler back up, gets the maximum distance on flash dash there. And I mean, that's a pretty easily executed gank coming across, and unfortunately for Gambit, their mid laner is now losing. Their top laner has just been equalized after a very impressive early game. Pressure once again on Lodik and Edward to be able to make this game work.
And looks like using that bot side pressure to bring Kira and Diamond over. Defense already mounting for Cloud9, though. Sneak in Zeyzal back off. Blaber's on this side of the jungle, and Jensen is going to move back around as well. Once again, a wall not connecting there for Kira.
And now Kira is very slow. He doesn't have boots PastryTime.
Doesn't have passive either. Does have his flash, but is already getting ulti by Jensen. Zeyzal looking to make the combo happen, but Kira does find the good flash. Stun chain there onto Blaber, but he flips out of there and still has Lance Respite going. Here's the Tahm Kench. Blaber burns the ulti. Jensen now fighting on the other side, but Gambit, they found the collapse. They'll devour Blaber, and Lodik grabs himself a very important kill.
And Gambit fans breathe a sigh of relief. A very nice flash secures himself a kill. It's onto their AD carry. Lodik now has potential to carry out this game.
That's the person they needed on 20 CS ahead. Now grabs himself some extra gold as he grabs that kill. And even the bot tower getting low. Diamond actually comfy in the 4v5 to try and 5v4, sorry, to translate onto Dragon. Licorice though, looking for some solo action. Flips around, doesn't land the shuriken though, and again, deals some damage down. Lodik with a great chain of corruption. Zeyzal on the front side, but he's got no ulti and no flash. He's got Ignite, sneaky boss to the heal, but Edward devours him up. That's gonna be another one. This time it's Kira that grabs it.
And a kill and assist, exactly what this Anivia ordered. Now all of a sudden, Kira also is feeling pretty good about the pickup. The utility of the Anivia coming up massive, and the bottom lane turret also very low PastryTime. So this game on the bottom side of the map could explode at the moment's notice. Gambit have done a great job of sticking to their guns down here in the bottom side. They had one pressure point left after that gank and the double summoner spells burnt. Kira looked like he was in no man's land. He looks like he's between three members, but a very nice flash means that they're able to combo out onto this kindred, and maybe forgetting about the Tahm Kench ultimate because it's not really used as a combat ultimate in these kind of situations all that often. Blaber goes down, rookie mistake there, splitting from the rest of the team, and then leads to this play, which is arguably bigger because this is Lodik in the 2v2 showing how dominant the Varus can be. Zeyzal obviously not having the ultimate available means that he's taking maximum damage to the entirety. And giving it over to Kira means that he's now in a situation where that 30 CS discrepancy is still massive, but not as impactful.
Certainly softened by all the gold he got, and Gambit got the Infernal off the end of that play as well. So grab the first Drake, and it's a spicy one as Gambit looked to mount a small comeback here in the early game. It did look like, once again, Cloud9 had the pressure, and they will continue to try and snowball. Licorice is going to dive in, maybe fancy themselves a tower dive. Stejos no flash right now, going to get flipped back on. The Shroud down. Power hit tags him, and Blaber not quite in position to finish that off.
But now Stejos' job is to just not die. He knows that all the pressure is coming topside. He knows that there's no summoner spells from Zeyzal, so very hard for on the bottom side of the map, especially against the Tahm Kench. So Stejos needs to play this one passively. They will be able to swap the turrets after this one goes down, so as long as he doesn't die, in the next 45 seconds, his job is accomplished, and Lodik is now huge.
Yep, gets that gold. All that solo first turret gold, feeling real good for the Varus, who's swiftly running towards that Blade of the Ruin King. Diamond here, going to clear out this ward. You can see Kira with a bit more mana, a lot easier to clear out the wave and just ignore the Viktor from trying to harass him. Despite, again, that CS difference still very good in Jensen's favor. Kira can now push the wave and leave, which is exactly what he wants to do with Diamond.
Yeah, and since the changes on the trading pattern of Anivia, now you can't just ulti E immediately. Honestly, Anivia is kind of 1 to 9. Just sucks. You need blue buff, you need to be able to get some points in your other abilities. It's no longer enough to just be able to ult-E someone and have a untradeable window. So Kira being down this far, it is a pretty big deal. He missed a lot of ECCS. He was forced out in situations that I don't think he should have been. But it is important to note that Anivia is a very good champion at this stage of the game. You know, as soon as level 11 comes through and Rod of Ages is stacking up, he is going to be in a power position. One more death, you know, maybe that swings back around again and Jensen regains control of this lane. But for now, the wave clear is going to be pretty oppressive coming out of the Anivia.
Yeah, you can see that swap from Gambit as well. He's going to try and force down the next turret here. Cloud9 trying to play catch-up, but Kira's actually doing a nice job solo pressuring the mid-outer as well. Jensen with the blue buff should be able to wave clear happily, so that will force Kira away, but Stejos here to cover. Jensen is actually going to have to flash that stun. A very good flash.
And the good thing about Anivia players is based on how they angle the wall, they're able to force you to walk a direction afterwards. Jensen gets tunneled into where the stun was going to land, has to burn the summoner spell, so even more pressure being exerted. C9 doing the right thing, they're trying to trade objectives, but given the fact that the Drake hit was already taken away and there is a Rift Herald on the top of the map, Gambit right now always trading up, finally having an impactful early game.
Yeah, a huge sweep of objectives taken with the turret trade, taking top outer, taking Rift after that Infernal, and probably enough without Shelly to take down the mid outer as well. But Kira, he's going to try and force something here. 3v2 for C9 there in the mid lane, but here comes TK once again. Moving Lodik in, Edward immediately has to spit him out to safety though, but Blaber took a lot of damage already early. Licorice forced to ulti in, has the next one going. Blaber forced to ulti, but again, he gets chopped by Urgot and put into the meat grinder. And Cloud9 forced to retreat. Zeyzal with a disengaged pulvers. Jensen, he's maybe left for dead here with no flat. Good slow from Stejos. They try and run him down. Licorice is here, he's gonna maybe try and save his friend, but he can't do it at all. And now in fact in danger of having to burn the flash. Does save it, but Gambit once more come out on top.
And heads up play out of Diamond, gets him back in vision, holds the summoner spell until the very last moment, able to charge him into the wall. And another turret falling down. Herald still in the back pocket. And a meaningful gold lead right now for Gambit.
2,000 gold ahead, looking good so far for what looks like, again, a pretty tough spot in the mid lane as far as the early game goes, but they come together, they play with the picks that they are comfortable with, and this is the kind of thing that happens.
And the swing point, as we actually take another look at that play, is going to be the fact that there's no flash available. So Jensen takes a lot of damage at the start of the fight. They can't disengage because they've already committed. Tahm Kench is just such a versatile champion, able to continue that fight. Maybe some mistimed aggression coming from Blaber as he flashes forward, thinks that he's safe with the ultimate. Hasn't got the QSS yet, so obviously falls down. This is a flash I'm talking about. Flash, you would think a charge is going to come across. No, hold the cooldown, make sure that you guarantee the wallbang and able to pick up the kill.
Yep, does scoop it up there. In fact, maybe Blaber thinking that the bird did not have passive, but not true. Kira will lose it now, but his general headstrong play, which is certainly something Blaber is known for, does cost him in that situation. So Gambit continuing to find advantages, and like you said, with the Rift Herald still ready, should be a pretty free tier 2 to take down.
Absolutely, and the important thing to note, PastryTime, is this game followed a similar trajectory. Kira falling down very far. Sneaky looking like he was surviving, but the difference this time around was with Varus, you have pressure on the turret. And with that pressure vacuum, they were able to just continually draw people down into the bottom lane. Edward, he's fine. Continually able to draw people down into the bottom lane. They got a couple of skirmishes that went in their favor, and they started stacking up the neutrals. Game one, Stejos had the advantage. Diamond was able to get out ganked, but they weren't able to really convert it into anything. The game was being played much more heavily on Cloud9's side of the map. This time around, they were able to secure themselves those objectives. Second dragon of the game. And without another mid-game team fight going awry, Gambit looked like they have control.
And unlike last time, Gambit actually ahead when that team fight does roll around. And the next Drake will be Infernal as Gambit continue to lock down those big neutral objectives. Still waiting on Diamond's Herald. It's looking to run out pretty quickly here. So he's going to have to pick a spot for that pressure soon as C9 camping some brushes, hoping someone takes a lazy path through the jungle, but Gambit just through the lane, probably going to channel Shelly here and look to try and pressure this tier 2 turret.
Yeah, there's kind of two ways that you could do this. With the wave clear, they're probably guaranteed a charge onto the mid lane turret, so they could drop it here. The other thing you can do is try and drop it behind your Urgot and see if he can generate any pressure. As soon as they see people on top lane turret, They just drop at mid lane. They've already cleared out this wave, and if the rotation doesn't come any quicker, this is nearly a turret take that's going to go down.
Yep, move Stejos from top as well. So full fight for Gambit, +1 there. The charge does come through from the Herald. Kira looking to lock down. Jensen finds the stun. Zeyzal trying to deny them out as he dives into the back line, but Shelly's still up. Actually, a kill already onto Jensen as Diamond found the assassination, and now Zeyzal, he's putting to the grind the next time as Stejos snipes him with Fear Beyond Death. And Gambit is just going to pressure this inhibitor turret now. Licorice forced to ulti away.
And Kira coming up clutch in these team fights, gets the two-man wall, and because Diamond was on the front line, Zeyzal can't find a way in. Gambit break the base, and they're in firm control.
Won't pressure too longer, only 10 seconds on the remaining respawns given how early we are into this game, but Gambit just bust open the midsection of the map. And now translate towards top. Looks like Abyssal Voyage was used to just make sure the minions moved in the right direction. And Gambit's strong mid-game is going to be very strong when the 20-25 minute mark rolls around.
I mean, it's strong now, and the difference between this fight is it's all on their term. Spellbook uses heal. Just innovation coming out of Kira here. The denial onto the backline for Zeyzal could not get past Diamond. Gets pulled back in. This fear becomes crucial because you can see the Akali can't use any ultimate charges across the backline. Can't get anything done. Ultimately has to dash out. And Sneaky even burned a summoner spell on the back end of that one PastryTime. So now all of the carries apart from Jensen really sitting ducks. And without Flash, Zeyzal just can't guarantee his combo.
Gonna have to get creative with the Hex Flash perhaps, but Cloud9 left stuck trying to find something. Zeyzal does look mid lane, but Gambit playing back towards their turret. Still have the mid outer to protect themselves. In fact, C9 only 1 turret to the 5 that Gambit have managed to accrue already. Up over 4,000 gold, looking in 30 seconds to get full control around the Baron area as Lodik plops down a control ward in the pit. And we've seen Cloud9 have to play on the back foot before. We'll see if they can do it here again, because Gambit are in full control right now.
Yeah, but I think this Cloud9 composition is much harder to execute than the Lissandra composition. Lissandra was able to buy so much time on the back line, you know, with the ultimate, with the Zhonya's Hourglass, had a lot of control. And this time around, they're relying on Jensen to be able to do that. And whilst that's fine, normally with a Viktor, against Anivia, we've just seen the wall come up clutch time and time again. This was a pick that Jensen actually took into the Anivia, and it looked good during the laning phase. Actually, he won out on the lane very hard. But Anivia now in very firm control. Thought that Diamond might look for something there. And the other thing that we don't normally talk about with Anivia is, since it changed to an ultimate damage on neutral objectives, takes things like Baron like really quickly as well. Obviously, you have to worry about mana concerns, but with the Blade of the Ruin King, Ginsu's user on Varus, if they ever win a team fight, you know, or just pick Blaber, Baron becomes a very real objective for this team, not just turret.
And that's music to Gambit's ears, certainly. They're a team that has always played around Baron. Has ulti out, gonna find a pick. Sneaky dead already. Lodik just finds the snipe. And now Zeyzal left out to dry on the front side of the fight. C9 trying to find something as Blaber peppers Edward with arrows. But Gambit have got more than enough coverage. They will get out safely. And they'll take the pick.
And no ultimate use from Blaber this time. They still knew that they could rip him back if needed. And you can see that this Gambit lineup right now is just rolling. Their siege underneath turrets is so strong. And I like the fact that this time around they didn't overcommit. They took the one pick, they were willing to back away.
Stun finds Blaber. He jumps away, so no range can be found. But Gambit have started the Baron. This might be enough space for Gambit to just take down a very early objective. I think they know they're on it. Yeah, you don't have Kira there for a while as Abyssal is going to ride Edward in, but it's just him as Blaber. It's going to get forced out. Licorice trying to find the dive. He wants Diamond. It's so low, he finds it. Perfect execution. Dashes in for the assassination. And now it's Cloud9 that might look to take the Baron, but Gambit still continuing the fight. Zeyzal with a big 4-man pole. Does find a good action on the front side of the fight. Cloud9 going to chase them away from the area as Sneaky back off the respawn.
Yeah, and really smart disengage coming out of Gambit there, because without Diamond, Zeyzal can just continually look for access into that backline. They will back away. Blaber checked the Baron health as well, knew it wasn't going to go down all that quickly, was able to get back over the other side of the pit, and that's a mistake one more time from Gambit in the mid lane. Didn't turn as a 5-man unit, which meant that Cloud9 able to bring back a team fight, and saying that 30 seconds next on an Infernal Drake and Sneaky is top lane. I think that is still an objective too far gone, but if we take another look at it, it's just Edward that comes in, doesn't bring Stejos. Lodik stays on the objective. Diamond has to use the flash and still falls down. A couple of things going pretty poorly there. They trade back okay with summoner spells in the end. But that's why the Poppy is so crucial. You saw immediately Kira's ultimate stop. Zeyzal just has so much pressure in these fights if Poppy isn't there.
And unfortunately for Cloud9, they did get the pick. They delayed the Baron attempt from Gambit. But they don't have vision back around the Infernal. They didn't get a turret to try and give themselves more room. So Gambit, really, yes, they'll lose their chance at Baron. They'll lose some gold as they gift over Diamond to the team. But still in basically the same situation they were a couple minutes ago.
Yeah.
And once again, starting the objective.
Absolutely. They have to resort out their waves. They have to get a fresh set of wards in the top side of the jungle. But in theory, everything else is completely fine for this lineup. So maybe set themselves a couple of minutes of wasted time, but you know, that's 2 Infernal Drakes. That's going to be a Varus Anivia composition that uses the scaling incredibly well. And still in firm control, as you mentioned, Pastry. Something else would have to go monumentally wrong because that was just a small misstep.
Well, you can see Licorice back with TP to the bot side of the map. He's getting that wave reversed for Cloud9. Gambit continuing to apply vision around Baron. Know that they need to continually present this threat to Cloud9, and if they ever slip up, that Baron will die pretty quickly. Nice ward left side of Baron though from Cloud9, trying to get themselves the vision. And Kaisa checks it, but knows now that there is no one there at the moment.
Yeah, and that ward's a little bit further up because most of the time you do sweep to the top of the corner now. So they are trying to get a little bit clever with it where they're positioning their wards. I think that if Kira and Diamond actually go to the choke point next time as opposed to around the wall, they have a much better position to be able to cut people off. Funneling between Raptor Camp and Red Buff, not often talked about, but Anivia's wall is so big at this stage of the game that it will cut off the entire area.
Oh, actually Blaber looking for Edward here, but Diamond also available, pretty low with the stun onto Blaber. He's going to go down in one CC chain. And Steyos still ready with the ulti, so it's going to be Zeyzal served up next. Here's Licorice going to try and save the back end of the fight, but Fear Beyond Death will snipe one as Steyos grabs the double. I mean, Licorice, what can you possibly do here? As Jensen is cut off by a wall, dancing around the Anivia Storm, and that's another great stun from Kira. Heal out there from Jensen to try and save his life as Licorice has dove in to try and do something in the fight, but he's going to get wall banged by the Poppy and taken down by Kira, and Gambit can do no wrong.
Looking to continue the fight, not able to find Sneaky, but they will take the turret. PastryTime. And you can see how well the Poppy works against the whole comp. Licorice becomes available for 1 second in the smoke, gets tackled out of it. All of a sudden, a steadfast presence comes up, can't dash back in. Just so much going on here. They're going to take the recall. Not going to greed out for the Baron this time around, just taking the advantages and continuing to grow the lead.
Yep, they grab gold, they go back, they spend it, and they'll run back to the pit for another go-around as we'll watch this one again. Blaber really wanted this kill.
And look at how much work the wall is doing. Zeyzal, once again, thought he had the initiation, gets knocked out of his headbutt pole combo, gets brought in. Jensen has to run away from the spear, and then Licorice is just trying to buy time, but the wall cuts off the entire choke. Jensen doesn't want to burn summoner spells, in the end has to use heal. This is what I'm talking about. He's technically in smoke, he gets tackled out of it. Steadfast presence goes up between him and the Shroud. And Diamond just playing these team fights, even though he's 1-1 and 6. Like a madman.
Still 70% kill participation and doing what he needs to do for his team. Steyos also having a field day on this Urgot right now. Blaber again looking for someone. The jungle's not a bad pick, but Edward is going to stave them off. Has the Devour to keep Diamond safe, so Cloud9 can have to wait it out. They do have the speed shrine vision around the Baron, so they know Gambit's not on it right now, but that threat will continually be presented until something breaks in this game spawn.
And they need a couple more items. You can see that Jensen has got towards his Rylai's. He should have more control in these fights, but still hasn't got himself a Void Staff. Edward face check.
Trying something again, Edward. Pretty tanky. Ulti is going to get moved out by Sneaky. I think he might have flashed out of the way, but Zeyzal already too low. Fear Beyond Death grabs him again. Steyos with the snipes as Licorice is trying to dive the carries here, but he's out of ult charge. Is now forced to flip away. Lodik with a wonderful flash. Insane outplay with a Gambit AD carry. And Cloud9 again left to defend their inhibitor as Gambit charged into the base.
Yeah, this time Lodik is low, but they're going to look to take the inhibitor down. Sneaky doing what he can on the back end of this, but right now, it seems like they're too far ahead.
Oh, Jensen flash is good. But again, the wall plus Poppy threat was there, and now Steyos is just going to dive the Nexus turrets. Blaber, he's ready to defend. He's got his ulti. They might actually find a counter kill here. Steyos finally goes down as Blaber puts the respite up at just the right time. And Gambit, have they gone too far again, Spawn?
Looks like like that's the case. Sneaky doesn't have ultimate. The disengage is going to be secured by Kira, but without your 80 carry Pastry, I don't think you should be diving Nexus turrets. Stejos feeling it at the moment. He's 6-2-2, but that was a meaningless death.
Certainly was.
But once again, the team fight starts off. Edward face checking. As you said, he's pretty tanky at this stage of the game. And the wall just cuts Sneaky out of the fight. Unless he wants to use ultimate immediately, cannot get in. This is a nice beginning for Licorice. He forces 3 members back. However, a very beautiful flash out of Lodik, as you mentioned, gets him to a little bit more safety and ensures they win that fight. I think they should have just taken the inhibitor. The fact that they were willing to continue past it without Lodik here, who is so much of the gold lead, is a little bit of a worrying sign. If this flip lands, you probably do kill Jensen, but I don't think you can end the game still. And if it misses, then you get forced out of the base. Once again, you give a small advantage back. And it's not losing them the game right now, but it is just making the game become a little bit more protracted. Sneaky's picking up half items here or there. Once again, if he gets towards the 3-4 item mark, this is going to be a difficult game to execute upon.
And not habits that Gambit want to build, given that we could be in for a long series. And with the stakes so high, Inhibit mid also still up, so Cloud9 didn't even lose that and open up an additional bit of pressure. However, check the right-hand side of your map. Infernal up in under 10 seconds.
Ooh,
Gambit will stack their third if they can take it. I feel like Cloud9, they have to fight. You have to give?
Yeah, you gotta give.
Feels so bad to give here.
I mean, I agree, but there's no way in like 2 items plus components you're going to be able to win this team fight. I think they use it to control vision, continue try and buy some time. Because really, that's what you're doing. You're racing against the clock. You won a game against Elder Drake Baron. Triple Infernal whilst a hassle. Till the Nexus goes down. Certainly does not win you the game.
Heard it here first. Just a hassle, folks. As Jensen barely going to miss out getting slowed, but Gambit again back to the scene of their last crime. I'm ready with a potential flank play, Blaber.
And you see they've learned their lesson. They can't move through that choke point. Kira not envisioned, but if they step forward, he just takes out everything.
Another flank here from Licorice, though. It's not Lysandra, but he maybe can make something happen. Eyes on Lodik. Inhibitor will fall down. Cloud9 do not leave to defend it. Diamond in, but it actually get knocked around. He's dead. That was too far forward. Now 5v4 for Cloud9.
And he put up the steadfast presence. He thought that he had a way to deny the engage. But as soon as that happened and it fell off, then Zeyzal was just waiting to take out the whole team. Diamond has to go forward. Cost him his life, but once again, Cloud9 just buying time. I feel like I keep going back to it, but Gunblade, you know, QSS finally there for Blaber. Do they just actually try and take this Baron?
They've got less than 20 seconds, but they are going to try something here. Gambit must defend Anivia, not bad in this spot, but the Baron is dying very quickly. They're going to go back in, they look for the engage, they find Stejos, the wall cuts off half of Cloud9 as Licorice comes into the backside of the fight. They're actually going to try and cut him off. Licorice, he's just buying time. He's on to Lodik, that's Cloud9 Baron. But Licorice, can he magic his way out of there? He's dancing around his shroud, PE1 over the walls. He flushes out from the rest of it. And C9 needs to run. Abyssal Voyage there. He's going to try and cut off Sneaky, but he KIs away. Still dead though as Lodik finds a snipe. And Jensen is just going to try and cut them off. A good flip from Stejos, but he's been left out to dry by the rest of his teammates. Zeyzal re-engaged. That's the kill for Cloud9.
And Kira just couldn't go with the team, not that mobile. Cloud9 take the 1-for-1 trade, take the Baron, and PastryTime. They might be back in the game.
I mean, it was what, 5,000-6,000 gold ahead from Gambit at one point in the game, and Cloud9 have cut it all the way down to about 2. And somehow in this game, they're the first team to grab the Baron.
Take another look at this one. Really nicely played from Licorice. He creates so much space. I said he's not the Lysandra, it's going to be more difficult. But in this situation, the only place to go is forward. Zones Lodik from the entirety of the fight. As long as Licorice is there, Lodik cannot attack anyone else. And because Kira goes into the pit and doesn't choose to flash the wall immediately, he is not in the fight. So Gambit continuing this is actually continuing a 3v4. And Stejos realizes that way too late, has gone over-aggressive for one too many times this game. Cloud9 can start believing again.
Yeah, I mean, they hold on to Baron on 4. Sneaky did die, but he's 3 items for Jensen. working towards that as well for Licorice, and now finally able to start a siege here. Stejos forced to dash away, and mid-outer turret at 32.5 minutes is finally claimed by Cloud9.
And you have to talk about standing gold, because they're able to also grab top outer turret as well. They get it back within 1,000. The split push is still going to be there for Licorice. He's approaching the 3-item mark as well, and can he kill Stejos? Probably not. But Stejos wants to be there for the team fights. That's what this composition does.
And look to Lodik again. Yes, it will be tough with an Akali straight diving onto your face, but he has 4 items. He is the man that has been set up 4-0 and 9. He is the person that Gambit have put their faith in all year long to deliver. And deliver he must if Gambit want to tie up this series.
And really, Kira has to be able to set the stage for the fights. These walls need to start separating people. He needs to start, once again, burning the flashes on people like Zeyzal, like Jensen, so they have a way into it. Because we've seen that Diamond isn't all that tanky at this stage of the game. He's only getting jungle resources. And Blaber's doing a better job of farming up as they go for the fight.
Ooh, Zeyzal actually, I think, just engaging to maybe disengage, but they're actually going to turn it back around. A TP in the middle of the fight. Stejos is in there, and Blaber's kicked out by Diamond's ulti.
I don't think that's who you wanted to ultimate Diamond. They had him cut off. They had the wall there. Probably could have got a summoner. Didn't see whether the EQ was still available, the hop, but once again, they throw the Hail Mary. That is the ultimate as well as teleport used out of Stejos. Doesn't have the flash available. They come up with nothing.
Cloud9 cut the turret lead in half at least. 6-3 now, still up in favor of Gambit. Gold lead though, about 1,000 between the two. Mid and Hib should be respawning pretty soon, as you can see, 50 seconds away. And just in time for Cloud9 to contest for this Elder. Because you said they could give 3 Infernals. I don't know if they can give this Elder as well.
Yeah, you can't give the Elder Drake once you've given the 3 Infernals. I tend to agree with you there, PastryTime. It's also going to be difficult now that Baron is expired to push into the Anivia. So once again, they've given a lot of their lead back, but they still have the meaningful parts of it, you know, the multiplicative scaling, the ability to just draw this game out for as long as they need it to go. But the problem at 35 minutes is you're now 1 mistake away from losing the game in its entirety.
And it was the lead that Gambit had that in other situations would have been a pretty high percentage to convert for a win. Say Cloud9 try and drag it back to 50-50 as far as they can. Gambit, though, still pressuring. A couple super waves left for the Inhib. Now going to respawn. Cloud9 will have to clear out 1 more wave. And then it's a race to this Baron as Licorice has found himself a pretty creative flank spot, but an ulti from Lodik is going to start the CC chain up. Blaber with a very good last-second ult. Needs to try and save Jensen, but Diamond found it as Zeyzal plays a big pulverize. Stejos in the front side. He's getting burnt down by the marksman of Cloud9, and Licorice dives in. Execution is good, but Kira is able to find the trade kill. Now Blaber, he's forced away. A Sneaky's left out to dry. Killer Instinct supercharges out, but he still gets stunned blind by Kira's Q. And Gambit, that might be enough to seal this game.
Yeah, it certainly should be. Once again, Kira's walls coming up clutch. The Anivia god able to turn the game around, and they'll march towards the Nexus.
Inhibitor dead. It's 2 only in the defense. The rookies on Cloud9, Zeyzal and Blaber must defend a seemingly impossible situation. But Gambit, they'll just ravage down these Nexus turrets. They'll tie up Zeyzal in the steadfast presence. They'll put the Glacial Storm on the feet of Blaber and force him down with the stun. As Gambit, they'll tie up the series in style.
And all of the win conditions that Raz highlighted at the start of the day, the innovation, the carry bot lane, and ability to neutralize Licorice were all there in that game for Gambit. They turn it around. I mean, with a couple of less deaths in that early game, that is an mid-game, that is an incredibly clean game. Never looked like they were in any danger of losing it, even after giving up the Baron. And that is a completely different Gambit that we're seeing now that they've gone back to comfort.
It does feel like, yes, there's still that worrying voice in the back of your head saying, why do you keep being over-aggressive in spots and giving away too much? But I agree, apart from that, Gambit, when they're playing their style of League of Legends, look very, very strong.
And that was with a disastrous early game on their mid laner. That was with Kira once again getting forced out of lane. I think that, you know, there are still things to improve on, and yet it's starting to go, it's starting to build, and when you win on comfort, that confidence starts coming up, and no one would be feeling it more than Kira, than Lodik in this best of 5 now.
Well, certainly a fun as we do have a series on our hands, but for more on how Gambit picked up that win, let's hear it from our analysts.
And I'm just going to go right ahead and say that my analysts are geniuses because they said 3-1 prediction with C9
not right yet.
dropping at least a game because of some fuddy draft. So we'll see later.
Yeah.
Let's sing the praises of Gambit, though, in this game specifically. Much like in game 1, in the early game, they are proactive. They try and make things happen. And I think this was also the key after that game 1 to do that and do maybe even more of that than in the first game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it just based off what we saw from how they played around Anivia. Remember, this really felt like an Albus Nox Luna composition from the members, Kira and PvPStejos. Poppy, Anivia wall, one's wall stun, play around the mid lane. It was so frustrating for Cloud9 to really get the fight down. Gambit would coin with you.
Yeah, there's Blaber. He must be the most Urgot ultable target of all time because he always jumps forward. He's always playing a squishy champion, and he always just uses his mobility to get in range. So he's just like sitting there, this pinata, and he always gets popped.
So before this segment, Mark told me, you know what, I'm going to really praise the Gambit for doing well, and I'm going to be careful not to be too hard on C9 for it. And now you go off and you're immediately
Can't do it.
like crucifying
do it.
Blaber. Well then, tell me what you disagreed with in this draft, Mark, because it looks to me like they did get a couple of components that are good for them, like the Kaisa.
Yeah, there's a lot of good food, but if you mash it all together, it doesn't taste good. That's basically what this draft is. Like, Akali flexing the top lane can make sense. You don't flex it into an Urgot that you're going to lose. Your bot lane is also a losing lane, and your mid lane is a good matchup for the most part, but it's not a supportive control mage. It is still very much a carry-oriented control mage, so it's nothing to protect a kindred when he goes in, like we're used to seeing out of C9. So these are the kinds of drafts I did not want to see, not just because they're not good at them, but because it's showing your hand that, like, hey, Licorice plays Akali top.
Yeah, and it doesn't really give them focus, too. I'm looking towards what Cloud9's draft actually looks to achieve. It's very much, I'll sit back and I'll wait, but who is your primary engage point? It would be the Alistar, but if you're losing lane that heavily, you're not really a tank. You
Into a Poppy.
Yes.
So one other thing I want to mention is that, you know, we were hard on Kira. We have been for the entire playing stage. But as we look at this next replay, Raz, you said it. This is something he is used to, and it doesn't matter if he doesn't do well in lane. He wants to do this.
That's why I love the Poppy pickup with the Anivia. Remember, we've seen this years in the past. You know, CLG got bopped with it. G2 got bopped with it. This is when Albus Nox Luna made their composition known where they would just have hectic team fights around the mid lane, and then Poppy stun became reliable. Because Poppy's E, you're like, well, you know, you're not going to get a fight until you look for a flank. You're more of a disengaged champion. But when you have a wall just literally built up for you, you can just go straight forest.
And this is one of the big advantages Gambit will have is just different looks and comps than anyone else is playing in the world, and it's stuff that your bread and butter is.
We wanted to see.
Yeah, this is what we want to see because, you know, Anivia is not super meta right now. Some people play against it, but they often don't always play against it with that Poppy, and those are two of the best champions for Diamond and Kira. So I really liked what they did with the draft, and they did a great job from the mid-game onwards of working as a five-man core.
I agree. I also think bottom lane in general, Edward and Lodik had a much better showing. That Tahm Kench really doing work for Edward. But I do also want to highlight these moments where C9 could come back in the game and where Gambit, much like in game 1, just goes a bit too ham.
Yeah, we thought this might be the beginning of a C9 comeback,
Yes.
and they definitely had the makings of it as they just kind of tunneled on finishing off inhibitors and greeting out for the extra objectives. And here, while you do get this, Baron's up, you can work for the Baron first, and now people are going in one at a time without any real advantage in that fight beyond the fact it's a 5v5, and C9 did a great job here.
This is my initial worry with the compositions that Gambit ran, because while they empowered their bottom lane, Lodik had a great laning phase alongside Edward, you don't have that Alistar anymore. The engage isn't there, so you have to be a lot smarter with how you choose your fights, and this was a good example of Gambit really struggling to do that. They couldn't push through when they didn't have a super minion wave. Around Baron, they couldn't flank at all. They didn't know when to fight, when to actually jump in there, and how to use Poppy. So there were a lot of questionable moments that made it so, yeah, even though Cloud9 messed up in draft and were behind, they still had a chance to come back.
But on the other hand, you don't expect Gambit to play it out perfectly, right? So I think maybe we give him some slack for the fact that they, in the end, did win this game, and they have something to build on.
Yeah, and after C9 got that Baron, they actually did a great job stalling the game out. They have a Anivia wave clear, and C9 can't 1-3-1 or split the map up because you have Tahm Kench collapse. So I think overall, once they did start to fall behind, Gambit did a great job recovering from there.
The MasterCard player of the game, Lodik, had a much better game. He was also the guy that we said you had to keep your eyes on for Gambit. And, well, the Kaisa was still up, Raz, but this time they had an answer.
Yeah. Power in the laning phase, and he can start his own fight. So he joined the team quite often after the laning phase. That's how they started it through mid and top lane. It was a little bit annoying dealing with Licorice, but remember he had the Hex Drinker, so he could deal with the Assassin in these skirmishes.
So great performance by him. As we look forward, Mark, what are we looking towards for C9 and for Gambit?
Well, I think the big thing for me is while Lodik is working out well in the bot lane, the mid lane is still a massive concern for me over the course of a 5-game series. It's great that they won this game, but if you look at the jungle proximity of where Diamond wanted to be in this game and where he was forced to go, he was actually mid the most this game. And in the Anivia Viktor matchup, that's not really what you want to be doing because it was defensive. He was always around mid protecting Kira who was losing instead of snowballing that Urgot who was crushing top side or snowballing this Varus that was crushing bot side. Instead, it was mid and defensive. And that's concerning that this is the second game in a row he's been forced mid way more than he wants to go.
Finally, is there reason for C9 fans to worry?
I don't think so. I think they'll come back with a better draft, and if we're in the same situation where Kira is getting bullied around a little bit more, then early game will get prioritized.
All right, fresh start in Game 3. A spot at the World's group stage is on the line as C9 and Gambit are tied at 1-1. Find out who takes the lead.